Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast. We are back again. Two of the guys, couple of fellas. I am here alongside Mr. Sin for the win, as Endo Mills is very much under the weather. It's starting to be that time of year, isn't it? I don't know about the weather out in California, Sin, but it's getting cold. It's getting cold here. The leaves are changing.
90. It's still Jesus. 90 here, man. I don't know how to tell you. Yeah, California's fucked.
Let's see. What is the
Central Valley?
This is what everyone cares about. I mean, it's 55 here right now, and then gets to freezing overnight.
Oh, that's so nice. I would love that. I'd keep my windows open all night.
Oh, it's
maybe
honestly,
not all night,
it's great.
I'd have my windows open all day. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's 85 right now. This is one of the cooler days it's been. Oh, we're going to get down to 79 next Sunday. Let's go.
Ooh. Well, welcome to a hockey podcast where we talk about the weather and also talk about how Sin needs to move further east. I don't know how you put up with it. I really don't. Not only the weather, but then you got to watch. Then you got to watch the Sharks, and that's just terrible.
Yeah, that was great for 2 decades.
We had our time, and now we have. Have you seen, before we get into the rest of the show, have you seen the Sharks depth chart?
I've seen
line right wing Luke Kunin.
Yeah, you know what? He's leading the way in points too.
Here you go. Second line left wing Stephen Lawrence.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And noted second pair defenseman Marc-Edouard Vlasic.
Yeah.
But on the plus side for you, and we will talk a little bit of NHL 23 later on the plus side, in goal, you do have 85 overall Capo Kakkonen.
Yeah, as well as very high overall James Reimer, or he should be. In your rosters, he is.
Kakkonen's an 85, Reimer's an 84 for the default EA rosters.
That is hilarious, because Reimer was clearly the starter. Not that Kakkonen's not good, but yeah.
I will note on the YouTube side of things, I have a video out where I go over the entirety of the NHL rosters because people were asking, hey, post the ratings. So we did that. And at the start of the video, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to complain too much about these. They are what they are. Everything's going to be okay. And then as I go through all 32 teams, the game it's a slow descent into madness. Yeah. I highly recommend it for anyone who likes the rants and raves in regards to the rosters. Special time. That said, we are here to talk about a little bit of hockey. Can you imagine that? We don't have a ton to discuss, so it might be a shorter episode today with the NHL season, let's be honest, with the exception of the Sharks, actually getting underway tonight with the first couple of games. It's about time we actually kind of get into the swing of things.
Those first 2 games didn't count for the Sharks. Clean slate.
I mean, they lost both of them, so you better hope so. But yeah, Lightning Rangers in what could very well be another playoff preview. I mean, we saw that obviously in the Eastern Conference Final this past spring. And then Vegas plays LA tonight as well. So it's going to be nice to be able to watch some hockey yet again. That doesn't feature the San Jose Sharks losing twice.
Like I had the twice and they're really quietly.
Oh, God. I had to do it. But as always, as we kick off the show, want to make mention this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. You can use code Tougie for 20% off of your order and free shipping. That is code Tougie, Tougie, at manscaped.com. Manscaped, the best tools for the job. Got to look your best. Even in these, see, from my perspective, you would think, oh, well, how valuable is Manscaped? It's getting colder. You need that little bit of extra insulation. It's not true. Still going to look your best. And if you're Sin and you're still dying in the California heat, even though it's almost the middle of October, then you definitely need to look your best. Going to be like, you could just go to the beach right now.
Yeah. It'd be bullshit. A little cooler there. It's a 2-hour drive from where I am and it'd be a little cooler, but.
Fair enough. Yeah. God damn. Manscaped. Code Tougie. Thank you to you. Thank you to them. We appreciate all of you. We also appreciate the people that took the time to leave us some questions for this show on Discord. Again, the link is in the description. Go to the viewer questions section like these fine people did. First and foremost, Tomas. What a question. You are mayor of a random, very small town, population 400 to 900. I think I fit into that category already. What do you name it to try and entice people to move there or to lure a professional sports team? I don't name it anything. Stay away. I like my peace and quiet in the middle of the woods. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it'd be like one of those unmarked locations on a video game map that's just there and special, and you can't fast travel to it.
It's one straw hut with a chest.
Oh, I'm fine with them. I'm the loot fucking master.
Oh my god. So okay, so that's what we'll turn this into. When you play games like that, say like a Red Dead or something like that, are you the type where it's like, I got to do every side quest, I got to check every building that'll let me check, I got to look for everything?
No, definitely not a completionist.
I am,
in
and
any
that's
way.
a problem.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I am not a completionist. I am a role player. So like when I play Skyrim, I'll often do like a theme to build, and I'll have like a themed thing of like the stuff that, especially at this point when I've played so much of it, like stuff I'm allowed to do. Like it's like I can't do the skill or whatever, or like, okay, here's my personality for this guy. What's he gonna do? Like, hey, he's a good guy, protects against bandits, other stuff like that, doesn't kill innocents. I like to do a lot of that. That's kind of what I'm like. So yeah.
So were you like Fable back in the day, like should have been your jam?
Never played it. I know. I never played Fable. It was like one of the first RPGs, and I can't believe I never played it. But I remember I'm like, that's such a cool concept. You can be good or evil. My goodness. But then like I was
your appearance,
playing, like, Morrowind.
Yeah, that's fair. Your appearance would change at the time, depending on your actions and stuff like
those
that.
Are pretty big.
I don't know how well the like first two Fable games have aged, but my god, good memories for that.
Yeah.
So you're the mayor of a small town.
Yeah.
What do you name it to try to entice people to move there or lure a professional sports team to the area?
I'm with you. Like, why would I want people to move there?
Exactly.
And why would I want a sports team there? If I'm in a town with that kind of population, I'd name it.
Definitely come here, and then people will be like, "You can't tell me what to do. I'm an American," and then no one will show up.
Bidenville. There, now I know. I know people won't show up, man.
We have an episode title.
Oh shit!
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I can't imagine what Endo's answer would have been for this either. We'll move into some hockey. From Scroopy Noopers, question for the podcast. In regards to John Gibson's save against Anze Kopitar on Saturday, October 8th, did we already see the save of the year? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, good. I was like, I'm looking at this whole time when you were like talking, doing the Manscaped thing. I'm trying to find video of it. I'm like, I can't fucking find video of this thing.
It had to have been preseason, which means no, by default, it's not the save of the season. Okay, I think I found it from October 8th. I did find the clip. I'm going to send it to you on Twitter, and we'll get your live reaction to this. Shout out to Hockey Daily 365 that were able to put up this clip in GIF form. You are getting my live. Okay, that was a pretty damn good save. That was
sick.
That was a damn good save.
Oh, that was beautiful.
The big dive out to the left. The NHL. EA NHL 14 X button dive.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty goddamn good save. It was.
Yeah, I keep watching it. Yeah, if Kopitar didn't have to clutch that, that's a goal, like 100%. But he clutched it for a minute to settle it. Boom, right there, and then he shoots. But damn, that's a hell of a save. So what were you saying about Gibson's overall, Tougie?
90 overall, completely justified, clearly.
By that save alone.
Yep, there you go. Oh, you think he's trash? Did you see this one save?
Yeah.
From Dimma, what will be the biggest surprise this hockey season? That John Gibson is, in fact, the best goalie of all time. That's the biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise will be Vegas missing the playoffs again.
Ooh.
No, that won't happen.
I had a feeling you'd go there.
I don't think it's going to happen. I wish it would, but there's no fucking way in the. I mean, Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm thinking they probably have to make top 3 because the Pacific is just not where the Central is. That being said, 2 of the worst teams are in the Central. I don't know. That's a tough question. I'd love Vegas to miss the playoffs. That'd be amazing.
Right. Now, a lot of people asked us like, oh, like, hey, award predictions, stuff like that. Don't necessarily like doing award predictions like before the season. I don't know. It's just kind of a me thing where it's just like, I don't know, pull a name out of the hat. Who's it going to be? I think it's more fun once we're like a month into the season to sit there and talk about who the early contenders are. Because if we look back to last year, I believe it was, we were talking about, holy shit, Jeff Petrie might make a run at the Norris. Like, that's what's fun to me. And then obviously he fell off a cliff, as did the Habs throughout that entire season. So we'll get more into that type of stuff. But the biggest surprise of the season is such a tough one because like you focus on specific teams, specific players. It's like I want to look at, say, like Chicago and like, okay, Kane and Taves, their deals are up. Like, are they going to get moved? Will they be dumb enough to not move them and potentially re-sign them, which would be hilarious because that would be the dumbest thing you could possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the Bruins, who are still starting this season without Brad Marchand and Charlie McAvoy, and saying that could be a problem. Big problem. They do have some depth, but biggest surprise of the season. I don't know. And you know why I don't know? Because if it's a surprise, that means we didn't see it coming. That's my way to finagle myself out of having to answer that particular question. I mean, I guess I could just... Well, see, the problem is I can't even just be like, sit and just be like, fuck Vegas. I mean, I can, I suppose.
Yeah. Fuck the Habs.
But they're going to be bad. That's the point, though. Like, the Habs are going to be bad, and every Habs fan just goes, yeah, we know. Or however, something, yeah, we know in French. So, I can't sit here and be like, the Leafs are going to... Oh, here we go. The Leafs are going to make it out of the first round. There's my surprise of the season.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Why didn't I think of that
one? The Leafs are going to make it out of the first round. They will walk... Actually, they'll run after the Blue Jays failed to walk. Yeah, there we go. I managed to get a Leafs will actually do good reference in there. I managed to get a Toronto Blue Jays absolutely blew it reference in there. Like, I know you're like, and we talked about it all season long. I know you weren't heavily into baseball this year. Did you see what happened with the Blue Jays though?
Didn't they like melt down?
They did go full Toronto. They did. They were up. They lost game 1 to Seattle. Like, the wild card round now is best of 3, which is kind of nice. Literally the game's played on 3 consecutive days as well. If it goes to full 3, which is very weird.
And that's kind of baseball though. They're just constantly playing games.
It's true. They lost game 1. Game 2, I believe they were up 8-1 in the 5th inning.
Oh boy.
And I think they lost, what was it, 10-9 or 9-8?
LOL.
Like, just completely blew it. It was the Mariners' first playoff win. I think
since Ichiro.
Yeah, like literally since like basically it's only their second playoff series win since like 9/11.
Yeah, like they even with Ichiro they struggled so hard, but man, Ichiro, God, what a ball player he was.
Dude, I was like 9-10 years old, and I loved staying up late to watch Mariners baseball because of Ichiro. It was nuts.
I got to watch them constantly because the A's played them. Well, obviously they're in the same division. I don't know if they still are. Fucking don't keep up with baseball that much. It's painful. Yeah.
But yeah, I am fully bandwagoning the Seattle Mariners at this point. So they're in the divisional series rounds. AL side is the Cleveland and New York, the Yankees. So obviously rooting for Cleveland. Come on. And then Seattle's playing Houston. Literally right now as we record this, they are up 6-3 in the bottom of the 5th. So let's go Mariners. Then the other side, again, I don't know if you saw it, but Albert Pujols' career is officially done. The St. Louis Cardinals were up 2-0 in the bottom of the ninth, top of the ninth in game 1, and lost like 6-2 or 7-3 or some shit like that. And then they got absolutely blown out in the second game. So they just totally blew it. Like Albert Pujols goes on this incredible run, hits 700 career goals. Yeah, 700 career goals for Albert Pujols. Home runs, and just the idea of like, here's this magical run. Might they win one more title without? Bam, blew it. The Mets blew it as well. So like instantly, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna bandwagon like 3 or 4 teams, and I got like 1 left. So I'll be paying attention baseball wise, but just so disappointing. So disappointing. It's the hope that gets you, right? It's the hope that kills you. That'll be our biggest surprise this hockey season, is that Albert Pujols was eliminated from the baseball playoffs. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. As always, again, feel free to leave those questions. We will. We're not done, not yet, at least. We'll be back on Friday, though, this week. So, yeah, get those questions prepped after the first couple of days of Stick Puck. But we do have a couple of big news topics to talk about. Like I said, it is going to be a shorter show. We're not going to try to just drag the length of this podcast out. We don't have to do that, and we won't. But quickly, there are 2 developing stories that are very relevant in the hockey world that we're not going to get into and overly dissect or dedicate a lot of time, because we still need to see the full story play itself out. The first, of course, is the evolving situation with Hockey Canada, which we did get a word from Endo Mills. He said, can you send a message on my behalf for the podcast? He just wanted to say, fuck Hockey Canada, and thank you. It was announced earlier this morning that Bauer was pulling out as a sponsor for Hockey Canada.
That's huge.
I mean, after Tim Hortons, Canadian Tire, it appears as though this was finally the straw that broke the camel's back to get them to do something, as it's been announced that Hockey Canada's CEO is departing, as well as their board of directors will be stepping down. So we are finally seeing some attempt at change, but still very much in the early stages. And I don't necessarily want to say superficial, but at the same time, just because you shuffle the deck chairs doesn't mean that there's actually change. This is going to take genuinely years to prove that there is actually change. And it starts with, people in charge being held responsible for their lack of action.
Yeah.
In relation to that, Tampa Bay Lightning defenseman Ian Cole has been suspended by the team until completion of an investigation into alleged sexual assault and grooming accusations. We will see what happens. That's the only place we can leave it. Like, again, I think it would be, we're a hockey podcast. This is a very relevant topic for not a star player in the league, but, former Stanley Cup champion, for God's sakes, that is being accused of some incredibly shady shit. Yeah. And if he did, in fact, do this, goodbye. Goodbye. Good riddance. Fuck off.
Yeah, it raises
but we don't know
from the cup and everything.
That'll be the intriguing step, depending on what happens here in the next little bit, based off of the findings of this investigation. So, not a fun topic to have to bring up, but again, both everything that's going on with Hockey Canada and this incident in particular. Like I said, I almost feel like it would look a little bit shady itself if we didn't at least acknowledge the fact that this was going on, because these are 2 of the biggest stories of the day.
Yeah.
But no, go ahead if you got something else to add.
No, I was just going to say it's just very themed of hockey in the last bunch of years.
The last year?
Yeah. The last couple. Yeah, I guess it has only been
the Kyle Beach story was rumbling around this time last year.
Yep.
Yeah, we are a year out from this. It was October of 2021 that he came forward, and the rumblings that something was going on from Rick Westhead was at the end of September and early October.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that it's coming out and people are, getting looked at and shit. it's just sad to think how much came before this, but no one said jack shit. It just sucks. Because it did. This is not something that these aren't isolated incidents. They're clearly deeply ingrained in. You hate to say it, but it's ingrained in the culture because, well, people continually get away with it. There's something about, hockey and like not who's attracted to it, but just like what people are allowed to get away with. They aren't taught boundaries. Like you're a good hockey player, you're going to get away with fucking everything. It's like some college athletes. Oh, you're a great college athlete. I'm giving you all these good grades because I know you have to work on your craft. Right. It's a similar thing to that where it's just sucks.
It's tough to look tiring. At because it gives you like, we all know, but we'd like to not think that the people that provide us entertainment on TV or that we go to the live events to see, we'd like to think they're not shitty people. Or that these governing bodies that are supposed to do, a better job of protecting everybody involved, that they wouldn't allow stuff like this to happen. So when you now have this year-long, like the beginning stages, but really it's been like a year-long purge of story after story after story that's come out with people like Rick Westhead, Katie Strang at the forefront of that. As it's just, you continue to turn over these rocks and see what's underneath. It's on one hand very promising because like, okay, cool, there will be some change out of this. On the other hand, it's extremely goddamn uncomfortable. But it is a necessary step in progression. So for those two stories in particular, again, there's not too much else we can discuss in those regards, but they are certainly worth bringing up and mentioning that, hey, these are going on. Keep an eye out on these particular stories in general. But in topics more related to directly what's happening on the ice, not too much, obviously. The finalization of rosters. We could sit here and talk about all the young players that have made teams, but a week from now, they could be sent back to junior or something like that. Every team likes to, for the most part, give players some trial runs. So not too much to dissect there, but we can talk about the Calgary Flames, their off season in general. I said on this very podcast, I thought they were done and dusted. That the loss of Matthew Tkachuk and just in general, Johnny Gaudreau going to Columbus, like, oh, cool, they're screwed.
Yeah.
And now they're looking a hell of a lot better. They signed Nazem Kadri, you re-signed Jonathan Huberdeau, and then it came down to the last domino to fall, that being Mackenzie Weegar re-signing with the team, an extension starting next year at $6.25 million for the next 8 years, which is a fucking bargain. He is a phenomenal defenseman. And on top of that, they also re-signed head coach Daryl Sutter to a multi-year extension. I can't recall the last time a team's narrative flip-flopped this much outside of like Toronto.
Maybe like Montreal when they made the cup.
That's fair. What is it with these Canadian teams?
Yeah.
That's fair. But just crazy. Like absolute craziness where it's like, oh, hey, maybe they can do something in the playoffs. They look absolutely terrible against the Oilers in round 2. What looks like it's going to be a nightmare off season, and instead now here they are. Honestly, still looking very much like a threat with a phenomenal head coach at the helm. A roster that has skill, but at the same time is kind of built as a Daryl Sutter team should be. Like they have that high skill up front, Huberdeau, Lindholm, Toffoli, Mangiapane, Kadri, and then that bottom 6, guys like Blake Coleman, Milan Lucic, Brett Ritchie, Trevor Lewis.
Yep.
And then defensively, too. I mean, again, Hannafin Anderson, Uyghur Tanev, Zadorov, and Michael Stone signed a contract today. I believe Sheelington is currently away from the team for a different matter. And then you have Jacob Markstrom in net. Like, this is a very, very well-constructed team. again, when these guys looked like they were going to just kind of fade away from relevance for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, and we're speculating. Okay, what are they doing with these pieces? Are they going to flip them? Do they get both signed? Do they flip one of them? They signed them both, and I love that deal for Weegar. That's such a good contract, man. Like he really, like, again, analytical darling. I think he's great on the ice. Sure, a couple mistakes here and there, but man, like he's what, 26?
He 28, so he's a little bit older, but
yeah, so it'll be 36 when it expires. That's not the end of the world. Could be like 38 when it expires. I like you immediately know what I'm referencing.
No, it's not like you've been razzed about it to death like every other Sharks fan in regards to their contract situation, you know?
Yeah, Marquette Bar like Classic. Anyway, but yeah, 6.25 I think is fine, and the term on that's solid. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a steal of it. It's not a steal, but it's a good deal for him, and he'll probably be soaking up a lot of minutes too. And man, wait till you see him in a Daryl Sutter system. You thought his analytics were good before? Ooh, wait till he's in a Sutter system.
I mean, on paper, as we've said so many times on the show throughout like our little season previews, it should work out tremendously. Like it really should. Like all the pieces are in place, just whether or not they can put them together. So things are looking absolutely phenomenal for Calgary right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Vegas Golden Knights re-signed a defenseman of their own, Nick Hague, about $2.3 million for the next 3 years. That's a fantastic deal. Fan of that for them. Big fan of Nick Hague in general. Yes, video games have to relate to that, but you know what? That's okay. You can like a player because he was good for you in a franchise mode. It's allowed. Damn it. Like you said, though, I mean, I think there's a lot of questions surrounding Vegas. I mean, I don't think it's the hottest take in the world on your part to say that you could see them missing the playoffs because it's happened already. And, you have your starting goalie and Robin Leonard out for the season. Laurent Brossois starting the year injured, so now they have Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill.
Yeah.
It's going to be intriguing, I think, to watch Vegas. But getting Nick Hague signed, and I believe, cap-wise, like they just had enough money to fit under the cap. A lot of teams, I know Vancouver as well, went like straight to the cap ceiling of 80. God, what is it? 82 something.
I don't even know.
At this stage, I think.
I thought it was 84, but I have no idea.
It might be 84 at this point. Yeah. Freaking cap finagling. The most interesting thing to talk about on a podcast. And a couple other minor signings happened. You had Zach Aston re-signed in Toronto for dirt cheap, which I think is a great deal, for him to be in their bottom six. And then, wouldn't you know who won the pony? For the second time, the New York Rangers have won the Jimmy Vesey sweepstakes. Two-time, baby. Two-time. Jimmy Vesey back to the Rangers for league min. I feel bad because it's not... Like, I don't know. I don't like memeing players like that. But at the same time, it is just kind of crazy to look back at how much hype, rightfully so, that Jimmy Vesey had. And that it just didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why when people yell at me about not highly rating certain NCAA prospects who are joining the NHL, it's why I always kind of laugh, just because every single year there are those great NCAA players that make their way and then just, it doesn't work out. Or they don't even make it to the NHL level. Jimmy Vesey's had a decent career. I mean, Jimmy Vesey's had about as good of a career as most people, I think, can reasonably ask for.
Yeah, he's been a solid role player. He's played some, higher minutes and stuff like that, but he's just always been a solid guy that you have on your lineup, mostly in the bottom six.
Yeah, he is competent NHL player, and that is perfectly okay. to be competent NHL player. That equates to a pretty damn good career. Last two things to talk about here, really. Aside from, we'll probably get into some NHL 23 talk. Two trades. Vancouver Canucks acquire defenseman Riley Stillman from Chicago for forward Jason Dickinson in a 2024 second rounder. For the Canucks, they get out from underneath a contract that none of the fans were really that big of a fan of, as it turns out. I mean, they brought him in from Dallas, gave him what was the Jason Dickinson contract? $2.65 million until 2024. He had 11 points in 62 games last year, so not quite getting the best bang for your buck, but they are able to bring in someone like Riley Stillman, who should slot in on the third pair for them pretty much immediately. They have to give up a second round pick to do it, which is a little bit pricey. So I personally like the trade for both teams. I don't think there's too much to dissect on paper. Good for both. And then there was another swap of talents. The Oilers acquire Klim Kostin from the St. Louis Blues for defenseman Dmitry Samorukov.
I like this for the Oilers.
I was going to say, right? Like, I'm kind of surprised the Blues finally just cut ties and said, fuck it, it's not going to work with you here.
Yeah. Samorukov wasn't going to do a whole lot of good on the Oilers. They're kind of stacked with top 6 level defensemen, even though some of them are playing in their top 4 and beyond. I like Klim Kostin. Like, I think he brings a good kind of element to the Oilers. And again, it's another... We know they need better forward depth, and here's a guy who's 23 years old. He's big body, 6'3". It's like this is the time for him to prove it.
Yeah.
And this is a good situation for him to be in. Better than St. Louis, I think. I mean, his play style fits for St. Louis, but that might be the problem because St. Louis is built that way. They have plenty of Klim Kostins, kind of, or guys who have that play style, and Klim Kostin now can go to the Oilers and fill, hopefully, a role that they need to be filled, and again, maybe get some... all right, so it's like, remember when they played Zach Kassian with McDavid and Draisaitl a lot, or Zach Kassian with McDavid? Here's a more skilled Zach Kassian, maybe less physical, but he's way more skilled. Hey, you never know.
I mean, it's worth a shot, right? For the Oilers to bring in this guy and just see, like, hey, will this work out here?
Good Lord, he's born in 99. Yep.
He was born in 1999, and that equates to him being 23 years old. Isn't it awful?
I hate it.
It is the absolute worst. So, very, very much intrigued by that. To wind out the show, like I said, I think we can dip into some NHL 23 talk here. You know, you're listening to two YouTubers.
Pretty haggard game.
So, God, we've known each other now for like what, 5-6 years? As crazy as that is.
Jesus, yeah. When did I first hit you up? Was it NHL 17 or 18?
I think it was 17, which would be 2016.
Yeah, so 5+ years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's fucking crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. I was saying that to the fiance earlier, in a sense of I was telling her the story of like, okay, so like today got a PS5 finally. Finally secured one. And it's
I
funny
sold
enough,
my Charizard card for $250.
Damn.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fucking good.
God damn. We've both had great days. Shit.
It was fantastic, yeah.
God damn. But I told the story of how I got my Xbox Series X, which was through Monkey Dude 22. If you've followed the streams at all, that is a familiar name to you. And I had mentioned, like, oh yeah, shit. So I've known Monk for like 2 or 3 years, and then I'm just like, and I've known someone like Sin for like 6.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So, we've one horrifically failed collaboration attempt aside, completely my fault. But like we have obviously as friends consistently been in discussion about like, oh yeah, how are you feeling about the game? What do you think? And it's interesting because I've been watching a lot of friends on Twitch since NHL 23 dropped on Monday, at least with the EA Play 10-hour trial. And the general feeling that I feel like most people have is that it's more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
There are little tweaks here and there, but it does feel like more of the same. And for franchise mode in particular, we've discussed it, I believe. The big addition, of course, being Custom League. Good addition, yes. But how much does it really add from a content perspective? Because you can do what I'm doing now, which is having a 48-team league that we also put an extra spin on to have it be a fantasy draft. Like, you can do that. But then what happens once you start playing franchise? It's the same. It's still the same mode, with the exception of it looks like players can develop abilities and X factors as you go on. I think I've seen one example of that. I know Tactics HD has mentioned some examples of that. So aside from that, it's just kind of the same. And I feel like it's the same thing for Ultimate Team. It's like, well, there are different ways to go about things, but at the end of the day, the game is the game, right? So it's funny because we talked about it quite a bit too, like just the general interest, where for you, you're not like this huge franchise player to begin with. Like, you don't necessarily jump to like, okay, FIFA's out, I gotta play FIFA, Madden, NBA. But I sit there and play every other game. So it's like I see what changes are made and then come back to NHL and I'm just kind of like, where are you right now as you start like franchise mode? Like, where are you at with NHL 23? I guess like your early impressions, how are you feeling about it? Because I still think we're on kind of different levels still at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, I just play franchise mode for what it is. Yeah, I don't understand how this is a new game. I'm going to be real. Like, there's so little added to it. The changes are so minor. It's just like, this is a whole year of work. That department must be so fucking small. And I don't want to blame them. I'm sure there's a lot of good creative minds in there who are just suffocated by a budget and corporate red tape that they just have to do certain. I don't know, man, but it's just not enough. Like, there's so much cool shit they could be doing. Like, wouldn't it be awesome? Like, we were talking about this when we played 2K10. Man, what if we could all play a single franchise mode on NHL? Like, that would be fantastic. Why is that not a feature if it was clearly present back here in 2010, over a decade ago? God damn. Over a decade ago was 2010. Let that soak in. I hate it. Yeah, and just like that was possible. So like what? Like my only really like justification is like their code is so fucked. Like that they can't even do much. Like I don't know, way to break this. I'm noticing new simulation like glitches in Be a Pro. There's always been simulation glitches. Those same ones are there, but now there's more. I'm like, it's because I think they just keep adding to the code and it keeps conflicting and creating these horrible. Each trigger will set, do something to another trigger somewhere. I don't know, but it's a jumbled mess, and they keep trying to add to it. I think, and it's just awful. Like, all things considered, as a game, it's terrible. As an NHL game, it's whatever. It's an NHL game. Like, what else do we expect at this point? So I wouldn't pay for it. Is my thing.
I feel like that's the takeaway that you're going to hear from most people.
Yeah.
It's what it is, right? Like it's NHL. And I feel like with so many people having to just revert back to it's NHL as opposed to necessarily being excited.
Yeah.
Right? Like, saying it's NHL doesn't exactly convey a crazy amount of excitement, which is kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's where we're at, and it's where we've been at, right? So, damn.
Yeah, I've gotten one last chance animation, or whatever.
One so far.
Shit. Yeah, but it was useless because like like the goalie was going to cover the puck, and I was just spamming the shot in case it went to my stick, and my guy dives at the side of the net and swats at it. I'm like, oh, was that it? And then Architect last night almost paralyzing himself by getting a buffered shot. He dives headfirst into the boards.
All heart, though, right?
All heart. Yeah.
Like that's determination, and
I've never seen any
right
other
there.
last chance thing. Like if I'm getting bumped, I'm just going to lose the puck. I'm just going to lose the puck. Or it's I don't know. Give me some last chance defensive fucking things. God,
give me some first chance defensive opportunities.
yeah. You know what? Yeah,
let me have a chance to begin with. Jesus.
Yeah, I have a poke, check, and positioning, and those only work 50%, 25% of the time each.
It's like, for the love of God, just give me a chance at success, please.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, I don't know. I just find it very fascinating as someone who isn't necessarily as optimistic about the game to hear different opinions, because I like taking the positives that others have, or at least being able to take that viewpoint that others have, and being able to just be like, okay, here, let me try to shift my focus to think of it that way, and maybe I'll find a little bit more enjoyment out of the game, because at its base level right now, I'm just like, it's another year of this. And that's okay, I guess. But it's just that feeling of like, it's NHL again. I don't know. Maybe if I had built my community upon like, let me open a shitload of packs, maybe it would be hype. But at this stage, I'm like, it's NHL.
Yep.
But kind of like you mentioned too, it's like there's no massive BA Pro changes. There's very little for franchise outside of Custom League. The gameplay is intriguing in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd be happy that two of their most consistent franchise creators over the last 5+ years, that they're just like, yep, it's a game.
Yeah.
But with that, everybody, we will, I think we'll wind things down. Again, we'll be back this Friday with more to talk about, I would imagine, with hockey season actually getting underway, the first couple of games to discuss, so on and so forth. Hopefully Endo Mills will be back as well. Again, him being under the weather. Wish him well on Twitter, at Endo Mills. Sin, what do you got going on, buddy?
Well, yeah, NHL 23. I'm still on my bullshit. Franchise mode. A little bit of BA Pro. We'll see how long that lasts, with the gameplay being what it is and probably not getting as many views. We'll see how long I feel like playing BA Pro. But of course, playing the franchise mode. Actually, I was experimenting, making some shorts as well from highlights off of BA Pro, trying to see what I can do to make BA Pro viable again, if it's possible. But looking pretty grim. Looking pretty grim on that front. So it looks like a whole another year of franchise mode for me.
We're talking like, franchise, man. Like, you gotta fight the good fight. It's literally, it's the meme of like EA holding up Hut in the pool while us franchise guys are drowning and the BA Pros at the bottom of the pool.
Yes, it's that skeleton in the chair at the bottom. Oh my God.
Oh, it's the best.
I'm gonna make that meme now.
Yeah, beat me to it, because I'm about to make that meme.
Shit.
So run, win that foot race. With that, everybody, again, everywhere, Tougie24, live streaming on Twitch, franchise, maybe some World of Chell if I can tolerate it, I guess. You can catch me playing FIFA Pro Clubs on stream, and who knows, maybe we will have to dip back into NHL 2K10 at some point. Maybe some point much sooner than expected. We'll find out. Thank you again for listening. Manscaped.com. Go Tougie. We'll see you guys on Friday. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Tougie Steak Podcast.